It's funny when you think about how a particular, at least it is to me, it's funny when you think about how a particular painting uh, came about. And so this particular painting came about as a result of me finding a piece of canvas that was for sale at a yard sale next door. I saw this brand new piece of canvas that was 12 inches by 36 inches. So that's a 1:3 ratio. So that's a pretty wide painting. Anyway, I decided I wanted to paint something in this horizontal 1:3 format, but I just never really thought too much about what. And so as I began to think about it, I thought, well, obviously it's really horizontal. And I had done some horizontals in that ratio before that were pretty successful, I thought, as compositionally. And I had done a couple that were 1:2 ratios. And those were not as successful compositionally, I don't think. So I thought, what could I do for a horizontal subject? And I thought, well, something with motion would be good, or something that was long and skinny. And I thought, well, a train, but I'm really not into trains and I don't really paint all that detail. It would be cool. Could be done well, but I thought, I don't want to do that. Could do horses. Well, running a herd of horses would be cool, certainly, but I have done a fair number of horses in the past, even running horses, and I considered that. But then I came to the idea of wolves, which is really kind of struck a note with me. I thought it would be cool if I painted a pack of wolves, multiple wolves running in the forest, versus a herd of horses or deer or elk or something like that. I just thought a pack of wolves would be cool because I've always been fascinated with wolves. I think they're an amazing creature. I've never actually seen one in the wild. The first wolf I ever saw up close was a guy who had one in a parking lot in the 70s. He was in the parking lot of a grocery store, and I think he was begging for money to feed his wolf. But one thing I remember about that was that wolf was just amazing to look at. It was the biggest legs on that kind of an animal that I'd ever seen. I couldn't believe how big and sturdy this animal was. But it was just beginning of my fascination with wolves, and so I've done a number of wolf paintings. And I thought maybe if I could do this painting, not only could I show the magnificence of the creature, but maybe I could help them not to be misunderstood, in some small way in this painting. Because wolves are often misunderstood. They're misunderstood when they're personified, when we try to give them human characteristics. We see them as evil and cunning and murderous. I mean, we've got the big bad wolf, right? And we've got, werewolves, etc. And when they're misunderstood, when they're thought of as a dog, a wolf is not a dog. A dog may have some characteristics of a wolf, but a wolf really, I don't think, has any characteristics of a dog. They don't make cool pets. And people who try to get them and keep them as pets often end up surrendering them to wolf rescue places, and or they leave them locked out outside in a cage, and they're hard to handle. I mean, a wolf is a wolf, and it's not a dog, and it's not a person. And they really shouldn't be exterminated for being what they are. They're really not out to get the rancher. I understand that's problematic when they kill livestock and eat them, but they're out there trying to survive, and maybe there are some other solutions rather than just exterminating the wolf. It is a magnificent, super intelligent creature with a complex social behavior. And it's an efficient survivor, oftentimes really brutal conditions. And it has a determination to live and thrive like all life does. And it should be treated that way with respect and not, a subject for extermination. So having said all that, I did take a little inspiration from my dog as she sometimes just loves to run for the sake of running. I mean, she just runs with exuberance sometimes, especially in the snow, but even in the backyard, in the grass, sometimes she just takes off running and she just loves to run. And so I decided I kind of wanted to get some of that exuberance, although wolves probably don't have that that luxury of just running for the sake of running. They're always running for a purpose and generally chasing down some prey. But anyway, I wanted to catch some of that excitement and that exuberance in the wolves that I was going to paint. So I used the 12 by 36 canvas that I had from my neighbor as a study size. I wanted to create a study on that. And I took my time and drew my wolves on there. And I just want to take a second to tell you how important drawing is. I drew the wolves more carefully than I generally do when I start a painting because they were a bit more complex. And good drawing equals freedom to enjoy the process. Because if you get a good solid drawing, then you don't have to worry about that as you're painting it. You can enjoy the color choices, the brush strokes, that sort of things. And then once I had that study successfully done and I was happy with it, I decided, yes, this will make a good larger painting. I need to do it larger. And like I said, I've done some 1:3 ratios, fairly large before, in a 20 by 60 size. And I thought maybe I would do it in that size, but then I thought I've got to go bigger. How can I do it bigger than that? So I went with I was thinking maybe a 24 by 72, which would be 2 foot by 6 feet. And then I thought, no, I'm gonna do it bigger. I want to do it this really big. I want this to be, I want it to be special. So I thought if I can find 96-inch stretcher bars, then I'm probably gonna try to do it 32 by 96. I didn't know if I'd be able to find stretcher bars that large, but I did. And so I was able to put those together, and I was able to stretch my own canvas at the 32 by 96 size. I was able now to begin. So I had 6 wolves in my study that I did, and I thought, I was looking at some of the other wolf paintings I've done, and in the Watchers, in which I did have a black wolf in the pack, that had 5 wolves. And that's really another good example of why you should do a study if you're going to do a really big project, is it helps you work these things out. And so as I looked at the study and I looked at the Watchers, I decided that 5 wolves would work out compositionally better than the 6. So I changed my composition to 5 wolves in the bigger painting. And I began that painting kind of the same way I did the study. I started with a really solid drawing. I used charcoal as a medium. I love charcoal, and I don't use it nearly often enough. I really love it. It's just a wonderful medium, especially, it's really a versatile drawing medium, and I just love it. So I used that for my initial drawing, and I gave myself a lot more detail than I ordinarily would. And once again, the detail in the drawing and the amount of effort that I put into the drawing initially afforded me freedom to really enjoy the process. I was free to think about my brushwork that I would be doing. I was free to think about color. I didn't have to worry about placement because it had already been established. Then I began with a cool tone. I generally begin my paintings with a warm tone, and there's a general warmth that I want the painting to have. But this particular painting, I wanted it to have a cool feel. I wanted it to feel cold, because that's really how it is in the environment that these wolves live, and particularly in the wintertime. And then as I began to paint, each wolf began to kind of take on its own character in my mind. and I was able to just take my time. I enjoyed the process. I made it as special as I could. I put gold leaf in the wolf's eyeballs and then painted with glaze over top of that, so it still would look realistic, but it has a reflective quality now to it. And then another little secret to this painting that I don't ordinarily do is that I put glass microbeads over top of the wet white snow, and when that paint then dried with the microbeads, it now has a reflective quality as well. And it's really cool. If you can see this painting under certain lighting conditions, you almost have to see it in person, because there's just no real good way to capture this, either with a photograph or with video. Once I had finished the painting, I decided I was going to need to frame this myself. For one, it was going to require a custom frame anyway because of the size, but I kind of wanted to continue on with making this painting as special as I could. And so I decided I was going to have to build my own frame, and I was going to build it as a work of art. So I taught myself a thing or two in the process. I'm not really a woodworker, but I was able to kind of pull this frame off and get it how I wanted it. And then I gave it an antique finish. And as a matter of fact, my neighbor came over and watched me working on it, and he said, this looks really old. And it's like, it's brand new. So I knew I had succeeded in that respect. I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I hope you enjoy looking at it as well. So here it is. It's called Running with the Pack. It's 32 by 96 oil on canvas with an artist made frame.